Desjardins, Jeff Bennett is away. Tonight on PBS News Weekend, Trump on the attack. The former president lashes out at President Biden and the FBI in his first rally since the Mar-a-Lago search. Then, the battle over birthing access. Health advocates sound the alarm over closure of maternity wards and the lack of birth centers. And on our weekend spotlight, Jeff Bennett sits down with crooner Michael Bublé.
There's this magic in the peace of knowing that you can seduce an audience that way, or a relationship that way. I think there's a lot of joy in that.
All that and the day's headlines on tonight's PBS News Weekend.
Major funding for PBS News Weekend has been provided by... This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome. Former President Donald Trump spoke publicly last night for the first time since the FBI searched his Florida home in August. Campaigning on behalf of Republican candidates in battleground Pennsylvania, Mr. Trump used the rally to lash out against the Department of Justice and federal agents for their lawful search.
The shameful raid and break-in of my home, Mar-a-Lago, was a travesty of justice. The FBI and the Justice Department, the shameful raid and break-in of my home, Mar-a-Lago, was a travesty of justice. The FBI and the Justice Department have become vicious monsters, controlled by radical left scoundrels, lawyers, and the media who tell them what to do, you people right there, and when to do it.
Mr. Trump's handling of sensitive documents and government property is part of an ongoing criminal investigation. The DOJ says it discovered more than 100 classified documents in the search at Mar-a-Lago, as well as more than 40 empty folders labeled classified and 10,000 government documents with no labeling. The former president has not been charged with any crime. Federal and local officials in Jackson, Mississippi say it's still too early to tell when the capital city's water will be safe to drink again. Most Jackson residents now have water pressure, but the city still does not have drinkable water, going on nearly a week now. At times, lines for bottled water have stretched for blocks, if not miles. Jackson's mayor made clear today that the city's water infrastructure woes go beyond the recent heavy rains and floods.
As I have always warned, even when the pressure is restored, even when we're not under a boil water notice, it's not a matter of if these systems will fail, but when these systems will fail.
The city of roughly 150,000 has been under a boil water advisory since July 30th. After a pair of launch attempts were called off, NASA's Artemis 1 moon mission will now press pause for several weeks, if not longer. Both launches this week had to be scrubbed due to technical concerns. NASA officials said yesterday that a longer delay, likely into late September or October, will give them a better chance to fix the problems. And in movie theaters, the holiday weekend has been a good one for a change. 8.1 million moviegoers went to the theaters yesterday, a record for this year, according to industry estimates. That's thanks in part to National Cinema Day and discounted $3 ticket prices. There is, of course, still time to catch a movie this weekend, but be ready to pay full price. Still to come on PBS News Weekend, the overlooked crisis in giving birth in America. And Jeff Bennett's one-on-one with Canadian superstar singer Michael Bublé.
WETA Studios in Washington, home of the PBS NewsHour, weeknights on PBS.
This Labor Day comes after some of the most tumultuous years in the history of the American worker. A pandemic roller coaster of historically high unemployment and now quite low unemployment numbers. Tonight, we look at what that means for workers themselves. We invited some of you over Twitter to tell us if you feel secure in your jobs. In the answers, we saw stress and exhaustion. People who say they are struggling, like this woman who said she's seeking to retire soon after years under pressure. Or this one who said she's carrying more burden than she expected to at this age. But others told us they're enjoying working from home and finding satisfying opportunities. To talk about this complicated moment, I'm joined by Maximilian Alvarez of the Real News Network and host of the Working People podcast, and Sadal Neely, professor at the Harvard Business School. Focusing on the workers themselves, here are two powerful tweets that we received. A local school worker wrote, "COVID relief has ended. The school is understaffed and overwhelmed. The stress is unbearable." But a librarian told us, even though, quote, "we don't eat out much, don't travel, I'm more satisfied. I get to play and experiment." We want to talk about both the good and the bad, but Maximilian Alvarez, let's start with you. And which kinds of workers are struggling the most right now? Which kinds of workers are struggling the most right now?
Well, it's hard to say who's struggling the most, but I think what I really want to underscore for people.
The battle over access to reproductive health care in this country is largely focused on abortion, but often overlooked is a dire problem over where to give birth. In short, in many parts of the country, there are fewer places to do it. Maternity wards or obstetric units have closed in many states this year, including New Hampshire, New York, Delaware, Florida, Mississippi, Texas, Wyoming, and more. At least 7 million women of childbearing age live in so-called maternity care deserts, here in red. Those are counties with no obstetrics unit and no birth center. Those are places where midwives independently oversee delivery. Earlier this weekend, I spoke with two experts on this issue, Alicia McGregor of Harvard University and Aubrey Tompkins, the president of the American Association of Birth Centers.
Thank you both for joining me. Alicia, let me start with you. What is happening right now? Thank you both for joining me. Alicia, let me start with you. What is happening right now with the number of facilities that deliver babies in this country, and how significant is it?
Without a doubt, our system of obstetric care in the country is in a crisis. When we look at the number of maternity wards that have closed between 2006 and 2020, they're in excess of 400 across the country. Some states have higher rates than others, so places like Pennsylvania, North Dakota, we see very high rates. The hospitals that are most deeply impacted by maternity ward closures for more community-based models of care, I'm inspired by the women and birthing people who want to sort of take this process, this natural process, and put it in their own hands, because there has to be another way until we deeply reform the system that we have.
Such an important topic. Alicia McGregor and Aubrey Tompkins, thank you both very much.
Time now for our weekend spotlight. Throughout his 20-year career, Michael Bublé's name has been synonymous with universal standards, the kind of music that seems to transcend generations. Jeff Bennett spoke with him earlier this week to learn about the mind behind the voice.
In a modern musical era where crooners are few and far between, Michael Bublé occupies a lane all his own, reinterpreting timeless jazz and big band classics alongside his own contemporary pop songs. Bublé is out with his 11th full-length album titled Higher. It includes a duet with Willie Nelson and a recording with Sir Paul McCartney. Bublé is currently back on the road. His new concert tour just wrapped up in the UK and is now taking him across the US. I spoke with Michael Bublé.
And Elvis and Dean almost sound the same. I mean, with Elvis, you'd have a wise man say, and he would do this quick vibrato real low. And if Dean had done that, he would do this weird turn where he'd go, only fools real low. And if Dean had done that, he would do this weird turn where he'd go, only fools rush in. And it sounds kind of effortless. Sinatra sings on the vowels. Yeah. Where it's oohs and eats, but I can't help falling in love with you. He does the weird ease. I don't know, the soul music, all the people I love, from Donny Hathaway to Sam Cooke. There's all of these little tiny little changes
want to sing, but I won't. That's PBS News Weekend for tonight. On Monday, on the PBS NewsHour, how California's decision to ban gas-powered cars in favor of electric vehicles could ripple across the U.S. I'm Lisa Desjardins. Join us online and again here tomorrow evening. For all of us at PBS News Weekend, thanks for spending this part of your Sunday with us, and we'll see you soon. Us at PBS News Weekend, thanks for spending this part of your Sunday with us, and we'll see you soon.
Major funding for PBS News Weekend has been provided by... This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Clean Comedy Open Mic, September 22nd at 7 p.m. Le Rendezvous Cafe, 201 East Valley Boulevard, Colton, California, 92324. Clean Comedy Open Mic, sign up at 6:30 p.m. Not sponsored by the Rock Church and World Outreach Center. Area code 909-825-8887, rockchurch.com.